Hello everybody and welcome back to Pravus Gaming and more Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich, playing as the Sultanate of Egypt. By the way, I know full well I'm probably saying things like Kaiserreich and stuff wrong, I know that. Angle. You don't need to remind me, I know full well. I'm terrible at this, but I'm doing the best I can. So, we got through Black Monday. Black Monday is now officially over. We are now working on Farouk's reforms, which is necessary to unlock any of the other trees, unless we wait until May 1st of 1937 for the Cairo conference, and then we can work on the Cairo Pact, which would be fun. Now, obviously, our main goal is to worry about the Ottomans. At some point, I believe, typically the Ottoman Empire does start to break apart. There's a lot of internal conflicts within the old man of Europe, and that will be our opportunity to strike and possibly ally ourselves with a lot of the different rebel factions against the Ottomans, and that would be quite nice. But, yeah, I don't know when that's going to happen. We probably want to have a military sitting around ready to go the moment it does, though. That will ultimately be very important. I would love to get some army experience so I can improve these units a little bit. The only downside of doing that is we would need a little bit more infantry equipment, of which right now I don't have a lot. So we'll try training up at least one more infantry division. Then I'm going to stock up a bit of infantry equipment to try to train these guys up, get some of that beautiful army experience, and then we can start going for the 20 combat with divisions and so on. We do have 100 political power that I probably should spend on something. I don't necessarily need to get a little bit into conscription right now. It wouldn't be... Let's see. We already have market liberals in charge of the government, so we're okay on ministry and such. So we could go for some extra stability. It's not the worst idea in the world for us. Or improve our party popularity, which is also okay. Or I just hold on to the political power for use on something else. I guess we could start working toward limited conscription, knowing we are going to want this eventually. And just kind of start ramping it up, sort of like we do for partial mobilization. Or, I guess we could look for some sort of designer, which would not be the worst of ideas, especially for something like industrial research speed plus 10%, just to make up for our abysmal research rate. That would certainly help a little bit. Yeah, that probably is a better use of our time right now since we don't need the manpower. I don't have the equipment for it anyway. Floyd B. Olson elected president of the United States, a progressive. All right, well, we'll see how well that works. Enjoy your Civil War, buddy. Buckaroony, pal, old pal, buddy, pal. I don't know what I'm trying to say to him. Mechanical computing, 4% research speed certainly will be a little bit nice. There are elections in Italy. The Republic of Italy has had their own thing. Apparently, he called the elections early due to the Black Monday crisis. Good for you, I guess. I don't really care. Farouk, what are we going to do with your reforms? We could start working on reforms immediately for the government, our judiciary, bureaucracy, parliament, legal, lands, religious, education, basically everything. Farouk is going to freaking redo the entire nation in his image. Then we can get down to finishing reforms and we can decide, do we want to have a constitutional monarchy, the status quo monarchy, or do we want to have an absolute monarchy? There's a lot of different options for us there. I do not know what any of these events do, unfortunately. It's not as cut and dry as something like, let's say, destroying the Ottomans, where it tells you outright you're going to declare war on the Ottoman Empire, or something that gives you a research bonus or whatever. This is just an event, and if you don't know what the events do, then that means nothing to you. So do we want to go down that path immediately, or do I want to work toward, let's say, some army reforms so I can get some of the army experience that we covered? As well as the better doctrines, and start working toward actually getting better units. Let's see, is there a way to get rid of our inexperienced army? Remove national spirit, inexperienced military. Yes, if we can go down all this to the new Egyptian army, we would indeed be allowed to get rid of that. That does seem rather important to me. Kuthin begins singing for Radio Cairo. So, a singer who is... Apparently we enjoy her singing. Cool, we get 1% stability. I don't really care. I mean, great. Good for you, lady. Whatever. Infantry defense, we'll go ahead and research some of that. Let's see. Director fire, radio... There's so much we need. I'm going to go ahead and start working on trench warfare. Let's start working toward that grand battle plan doctrine and start replacing our infantry equipment with something a little bit better. Of course, that does mean we are only producing a couple per day as we start regenerating our efficiency. Sucks, but has to be done. Farouk's grand reforms. Today, Sultan Farouk has announced a reforming plan to bring Egypt into the modern age. His programs will cover nearly every aspect of Egyptian life, government, and society. Various ministers and courtiers are already planning on trying to influence or manipulate the young sultan to their advantage. Gain stability and war support. The people are very enthusiastic about this idea. Norway has joined the Third International. You syndicalist scum. Ugh. Freaking don't like them at all. All right, so what do we work on? Modernization will give me industrial research speed. That's true. We could start working toward extra factories. There's a lot more options for stability, production, consumer goods. This is how we revamp our industry. I don't know what these do. This gives us a military worth anything. Well, we don't have a military right now that is going to be worth anything because we haven't equipped it at all. So I am going to go down at least a little bit with the industrial research path. We'll get at least a few more factories up and running. And then we'll try worrying about the military. I don't know. I don't know how much time we've got. That's the thing. It's been so long since I've done Kaiserreich, I don't really remember how long it takes for the Ottoman Empire to explode. The Kingdom of Poland has joined the Reichspakt. Good for them. Nejd is murdering a Jabal Shammar. So they're going to form basically a mini Saudi Arabia. We will definitely want to add them into the Cairo Pact, if at all possible. Abyssinia needs to die. Okay, that needs to happen. Former Ethiopia. No. Can't allow for any of that. We're going to have to kill them. There is an option for that later. Eid ul-Fitr. I don't know how you pronounce any of this. During the reign of Muhammad Ali, he demanded that the whole of Egypt know when Ramadan ends. To do this, he positioned a cannon to fire at the crack of dawn on the first day of Eid. Today, cannons can be heard throughout Egypt, from the cities to the countryside, as people prepare to celebrate the end of Ramadan. Cool, we get some extra political power. I am going to... I can't because I haven't done civilian investments. All right, I have no theorists, so no military experience for me. I don't think... This is pretty good. Chief of Army. I don't think there's anybody who's going to give us any military experience. That sucks. Okay, we could switch over to, let's say, free trade, which would give me a lot more research speed and factory output and construction speed. It also means we would have less resources to work with, not that I have a lot at the beginning of the game anyway. It's not a huge difference. I might just keep this as is. Conscription law. Okay, I don't know what I want. I'm paralyzed with fear. I don't really know what I want here. Rally public support. Can't do this because we actually don't. We have enough stability now. And political power for our party is not the worst of ideas, but I don't think it's worth 100 political power at the moment. Do I want infantry division and attack? Attack and defense, or do I want organization recovery rates? Probably attack and defense and monthly recruitable population. I'm going to go ahead and change the conscription law. There's no downside to doing so because right now it does not reduce, let's say, our construction speed or increase our training time. It is only a positive for me. I know that I'm going to want it eventually. I don't need it this second. But I can't think of anything better to spend our political power on, unless we're just going to wait for some events that end up draining it away, because we know there are plenty of those in Kaiserreich. Plenty of them, dang. Okay, how are we doing in terms of equipment? 3.3 per day. We're almost caught up to where we were before, but now we at least are training up some better guns. So that's good. Still don't have enough to finish training up this division, though. Need a lot more. Almost 1,000 more guns, and then we'll be able to field another 18 combat with division. We need a lot more guns to, one, train up to get the army experience to make these 20 combat with, and then we'll need guns to actually make them 20 combat with. Basically, we just need tons and tons more of these dang factories. I'm still trying to work really hard on these civilian factories just so we have an economy. Modernization program will help with the research at the very least. Factory output, reduce consumer goods, all of this is pretty good. Developing economy. Or we can just get 2 free civilian factories outright, which is probably better in terms of civilian factories than industrialization plan and the consumer goods. Are we at the production cap right now? No, so I don't think this is necessary this second. We will go for the Nile dams. Damn the Nile! That will give me some extra factories I can use to start building up an economy. Again, man, whenever you play as a small nation, it's always so hard. It's easy when you play as somebody big who's got more factories than you know what to do with, right? And you can start producing tanks and all the cool stuff, and you get to build, like, a proper military with the good distribution between armor and infantry and artillery and whatever else, right? That's the optimal setup. What's this? But, oh, hello, Civil War. Okay, that's happened in the United States. But when you're playing as a smaller nation, and it's pretty likely you'll have to just pick and choose, you know, do I want infantry or do I want artillery, right? You have to just pick and choose so much. It's really hard to make good decisions. I struggle with it sometimes as a small nation. I generally find it is really, really important to build up an economy early. It's difficult to act. I mean, yeah, you can choose to start building up your tanks, but if you only have 10 tanks on the front line, well, then really, what good does that do? The Cairo Conference has begun. Sweden joins the Reichspakt. Okay, so we can have people join up with the conference. Saudi Arabia, Jabal Shammar, Yemen, and Persia. And we have finished researching a tank. Sweet. It is 1937, so we can start working on some new tech. I will go for construction. Still at minus 3% research speed, but we have made up for that at least a little bit. The industrial modernization program means that things like construction speed will be a little bit better. So now we're technically in the positive. I consider that to be a win. The Cairo Conference Economic Aid Plan. One of our economic ministers, Makram Abid, has brought up an economic plan to help the various countries that have attended. For if we are to defeat the Ottomans, we are going to need to help each other modernize and improve our economies first. Agreed. Oh, hey, Naj from Saudi Arabia. Especially with Black Monday crashing our economies, we are going to need to help each other first. Propose the plan. Economic unity, form a free trade bloc or something. Persia's now Iran, by the way. Okay? Idris speaks. The exiled of Libya, Idris, has given a speech where he declared his opposition to the Ottomans and declared that he will support the members of the Cairo Conference, whom help him in reclaiming his throne. Support his ambitions. Okay. I mean, I don't have a choice, so I'm assuming that that's going to work out well for me. I still don't think that that's really worth it right now. Let's see. Man, I really want a theorist. I think we're just going to hold on to our political power for when I do have civilian investments and stuff done, so I can start working on some of these. We can't get a tank designer, unfortunately. Aircraft, naval, weapons, these are all options. And for that, I need domestic gunsmiths. Or I need some German investment. Now, that would be fun. German artillery raining hell upon everyone. Cairo Conference. How shall the Ottomans be dealt with? I like how everyone is just openly conspiring against the Ottomans. Now comes the main argument that the Cairo Conference was convened for. How shall we deal with the Ottomans? We can propose dividing up Ottoman territory between the various powers gathered here. Alternatively, we can propose creating a new friendly states out of the ashes of the empire. Finally, we can announce our ambitions to take all of the land. Well, somehow I don't think that they're going to accept that. I don't want to create new countries. And I don't think they're going to like this. We have to split it up amongst the various powers. And if I need to betray them and kill them all later, I will do so. But I think they will all respond the best to the idea that we will give the land equally between all of us. Look, the important thing is that the Ottomans are dead, okay? Then I can expand across Africa. The conference is officially over. Regardless of what has been decided at the conference, it was a grand celebration that shows the greatness of Egypt. Now comes a preparation for the future. Time to bring down the Ottomans. But what happened? Does anyone know? Because I see nothing. I'm sure they all got events. What did I get? Maybe it was just like making promises, like in the Old World Blues mod, where if you make promises and then you don't fulfill them, it has negative events or something. I don't know. The Combined Syndicates of America declares war on the American Union state. Oh, good. And they're fighting the United States. They already were broken up. I don't know why we only now have the Civil War event, but there they are. Bye, America. Have fun with that one. A peace deal has been signed between Liberia and the American Union state. Why were the two of you at war? These are the questions we'll never know the answer to. Come on, Nile dams. Come on. Give me those civilian factories. You know that we all need them. Once we have a couple more of those, I will start focusing on building up military factories from here on out, I think. We do need more infrastructure, though. That is part of our problem. I wouldn't mind having at least a little bit more in these areas, you know? Infrastructure is more important than I give it credit for. The fact that it now does give you extra resources and such is very important. Canadian Commonwealth declares war on Panama. Wait, what? Canada is attacking Panama, okay? They want control of the Panama Canal. I told you that Canada has a very odd focus tree. They are fun to play. It's really quite good. Costa Rica has joined the Entente. Interesting. Nile dams are about to be done. Ba-boom. We could go for Egyptian oil, but I don't think I want that right now. Hollywood on the Nile leads to Egyptian radio. What do I need to get civilian investments? There it is right here. So industrialization, civilian improvements, civilian investments. More infrastructure, military infrastructure, naval dockyards, German investments, new universities for research slots. We are going to get the industrialization plan just for the extra factory output and production cap, now that we are actually getting close to the cap in a few cases. But we do need to start worrying about our military going forward. The question is, do I want to get any other reforms here first? So let's read some of these real quick. So, bureaucracy required to modern state efficiency. 2 camps are merging. Meritocratic examinations or pedigree and tradition. Okay. Collaboration of jurists from the university to overhaul the legal process. Don't know what that does. I'm looking for clues. Notable locals. Obvious area of priority for our sultan. Okay, so I suspect that this is going to deal with the land-owning elites, which is kind of hurting my system right now. So that would be nice to get rid of for our economy. We're going to go back over here and increase our production efficiency cap again. If I had anything that would increase my production efficiency gain, I would gladly do that first. I generally do prefer that, to be honest. At least if you have enough research that you're going to be swapping around what you're producing often enough. But yeah, now that we're getting kind of close to the cap here, for things like support equipment, increasing that cap does make a lot of sense. Come on, infantry equipment. Why do I need so many freaking guns? The French legation leaves Egypt. The news from Cairo travels faster than Farouk's assurances. The French legation, based in downtown Cairo, has already begun its exit from the Egyptian government. The Minister of Archaeology, even the Minister of Education have all left the city. With them go decades of work enticing the West with Egyptian myth and history. We shall find a way to replace them. Germans! I know that we have a little tension around the Suez, but would you like to come and have some archaeological expeditions? Maybe? I don't know, it's just an idea. You don't have to do it. I just think it'd be cool. Alright, so when... I think we do want to do administrative reforms. Oh, wait, maybe land reforms does this. We definitely need to do army reforms. It's non-optional. Have to do that. Have to do grand battle plan. Have to get ready to fight the Ottomans. Probably by 1938 or 1939. That would be my guess. We probably have at least a couple of years. It's not a lot of time, but it is some time. Commonwealth of Canada takes some states. Okay, Second International. The fall of Washington. Who got it? Looks like it was indeed the syndicalists. So they've got Washington, D.C. The Union State is pushing aggressively to the west. And they're pushing up through Virginia right now. The Austrian Empire declares war on the Kingdom of Hungary. Okay, so Austria has apparently reformed. At least somewhat. They tend to form the, what is it, the Danubian Federation? Austria-Hungary does tend to get quite powerful. They could actually be very valuable allies to us against the Ottomans and against the Germans in the future, someday. Remember that the Ottoman Empire is guaranteed, or usually ends up being guaranteed by the Ottoman Empire. Sorry. The Ottomans get guaranteed by the Germans. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. This creates the faction, which I don't need to do this second. I think. Military investments would get me a factory. Infrastructure is nice. 2 more civilian factories. Let's do the administrative reforms. I don't know. I don't know what's best. Believe it or not, there's not a whole lot of, like, guides for Egypt in Kaiserreich online these days. I did do some research to see if anyone had any information. Most of them are quite outdated. Anniversary of the Urabi Revolt. Beginning in 1926, an annual parade through Alexandria and Kafr el-Douar celebrating Ahmad Urabi has grown. Now a parade celebrating resistance to British imperialism. Imperialism has head every major city. The man of the hour, Urabi himself, may have never lived to see a free Egypt, but his resistance to tyranny, both outside and in, still inspires millions today. we get a tiny bit of stability because people remember their heritage. The fall of Vienna. The Habsburg capital is lost. The Hungarian pinned down the remaining Austrians. No! Hungary's going to kill Austria. You know, that's actually another fun campaign. So in the base game, if you play as Hungary, you can actually take over Austria before the Germans get the Anschluss and actually reform the Hungarian Empire. It's really quite fun. Get a Habsburg in control. It's almost like reforming the Holy Roman Empire, but perhaps a tiny bit more realistic. Hungary releases Austria for reasons. And they release more land to Austria, and probably a bit more. Nope. They created Slovenia. Okay. Carlist Spain. So now Spain has their own internal civil war going on. The autocrats, the socialists, and the authoritarian democracy. Or Democrats, sorry. So it's exactly the same as the... Oops. It's exactly the same as the U.S. Civil War. Greece joins the Belgrade Pact. So a new faction apparently is forming between Greece and Serbia currently. We'll probably see Bulgaria, Albania, and Illyria join in with that. Sometimes Romania. Yep, well, speaking of which, there it is. Now, they are national populists. So, basically fascists. All right. Foundation of the Belgrade Pact. Yep, 3 Balkan members have formed a pact. They will probably conquer the rest of the land or get the rest to join, and they will become a unified faction. One of the things I love about Kaiserreich is that there really are so many other factions. Right? It's not simply Comintern versus the Axis versus the Allies. There's sometimes like 6 or 7 different factions, all of which might play differently every game. Argentina has their own war against the Workers' Front. Yep, Chilean-Argentinian Civil War. We have 300 political power. Again, it feels like a waste not to be using it, but half the time in Kaiserreich, you're going to need this much political power, so it's not a bad idea to stockpile it. Heck, I think that they increased the cap from 400 to 2,000 in this game. Romanian Civil War, okay? So the Monarchs versus the Iron Guard. So that's going to be a thing for a little while. Who knows what's going to happen. Bulgaria is larger than I expected, but not currently at war. I think Romania had to surrender some land to them. Could work on the Grand Battle Plan Doctrine and keep that going, but I will go instead for Concentrated Industry Level 2. Again, really just trying to ramp up that economy as much as we can. We are definitely producing our factories a lot faster. Reducing consumer goods is certainly going to help. Replacing the French ministers. With this political vacuum, King Farouk has an opportunity to fill positions previously out of his reach. The Egyptian parliament has proposed several members from the Wafd party to be appointed. These candidates will no doubt extend their secular pro-Western sentiment into their offices. Several associations with the Ittihad party have suggested that turning these offices into a unified ministry of propaganda could help unify the nation and help educate the populace about the glory of Egypt and the Muhammad Ali dynasty. Well, market liberalism and stability or authoritarian Democrats. Well, as much as I love the extra stability, I do want to make the market liberals a bit stronger, so they're up to 49% in control now. That's looking pretty nice. Administrative reforms are done. Governorship reform. As part of the reforms that Farouk is bringing about to Egypt, the question of governors has come up. The liberals believe that governors should be elected, while the conservatives believe that they should be nobles. However, a third option has come up, appointed governors by the Sultan himself, selected through a meritocratic system. Autocracy, conservatism, or liberalism? Well, obviously we're going down the liberalism route, so we're going to have to do this. I suspect that the answers to these questions are going to be pretty evenly split between liberalism, conservatism, and autocracy. I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to come down to. Let's do some more civilian factories. I'm always all over the place. Every time I don't know a unified strategy for a country, I'm always all over the place in these national focuses. That's usually a good sign of balance to me. I mean, yes, it's a sign that I am absent-minded and I scatterbrain all over the place, right? There's that. But it's usually a sign of some good balance when you're looking at these trees, and it's like, it's not immediately obvious what I want to do. There are so many options. All of them are good depending on the situation. How do I judge it? Spring Flower Show. Farouk's sisters, Princesses Fawzia Fuad of Egypt and Princess Faika Fuad, I don't know, have helped inaugurate a spring flower show in Cairo. The show, which began in June, has instantly proven to be rather popular among the people in Cairo as they got to see the gardens and enjoy nature's beauty. Many are hoping that there will be another show next year. A new tradition is born. Thank you, sisters. You are very helpful. in unifying the country over stupid things. All right, so we are finally going to have enough guns to actually train up that unit, and there it is. So now we're up to 12 units. Oh my gosh, what do you know? Now we're producing some guns, so I could start doing some military exercises. It's going to consume a lot more than I can produce, probably. We'll see. I mean, usually military exercises do cost you things like support equipment and infantry equipment, but we don't have a ton of units, so it probably won't consume a ton. We are currently gaining 0.061 army experience daily. Oh, there it goes. And there goes artillery. Wait a minute. Artillery? Whoa, 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 whoa. Some of our units have artillery? Whoa, why do these guys have artillery? They do. Well, that's a problem. I don't have any artillery to actually reinforce any of that. Interesting. Okay. Well, in that case, I don't want you training, because I can't reinforce them, technically speaking. So we'll produce a tiny bit less army experience, and by a tiny bit, I mean like really a little bit less. Nope, hang on. Okay, hang on. Needs you to go to a different army, and you'll not train. Okay? There. Okay, 0.055. That's more what I had expected. The fall of Madrid. So it looks like who is winning right now? The Carlists got Madrid, but so far it still seems to be a more or less even fight. It's usually a pretty even chance between which one is going to win, the syndicalists or the Carlists. I don't think the status quo ever wins. Or if it does, it's pretty rare, but I mean, it could technically happen. The coronation of Farouk. We haven't been coronated yet? Today, Farouk has been crowned as the Sultan of Egypt and Sudan, sovereign of Nubia, Kordofan, and Darfur, in a majestic ceremony within the royal palace in Cairo. After his coronation, Farouk made a speech on the radio, speaking directly to the Egyptian people, saying, "If it is God's will to lay on my shoulders at such an early age the responsibility of being Sultan, I on my part appreciate the duties that will be mine, and I am prepared for all sacrifices in the cause of my duty. My noble people, I am proud of you and your loyalty, and am confident in the future, as I am in God. Let us work together. We shall be happy, successful, and prosperous. Long live the motherland, and long live Egypt. Long live the Sultan." Tiny bit more stability thanks to that coronation. All right, I love to see it. It's always great. Missing the equipment here for support equipments. The aluminum is a slight issue, but still not worth trading over. Civilian improvements. When that is done, that will give us a civilian investments option, so we can start getting some more research in construction tech and other industrial research. Modernize agriculture. Increase our population by 40%. Every month, or just increasing how much the population goes up by 40%. Recruitable population, consumption, consumer goods, all that's pretty good too. Military investments. We need this badly. There's a construction tech. The Soviet crisis has been resolved in the Swiss. I think they are national populists now. No, they're currently led by market liberals, but it looks like the syndicalists are actually taking over this time around. That's not always how it works out. What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Recon companies. Learn how to make those. How are we doing in terms of army experience? Still gaining a tiny bit. How are we doing in terms of logistics? Not making enough guns. The Iron Guard has won, and they are once again back in the Belgrade Pact. Words, what do they mean? Improved machine tools. Could increase our production a fair bit. Love it. Could go for more resources. Don't need it at the moment. I think I will work on the Grand Battle Plan Doctrine and keep working on some of that. Might as well just have better tactics that we can use, better planning, and so on. Does make my life a little bit better. Civilian improvements are done, which means now we have a few more factories to work with. We are up to 10 that are building. So we actually can build a factory every, 6 months now. That's nice. I'm going to go for the military investments because we desperately need more military factories, even if it's just one. That makes a difference in how many guns we can produce, which is currently up to 7.66 per day. You can see that our production efficiency cap has grown quite a bit. So this is going to be greatly improving. If we can get up to another one, though, I mean, we'll be able to produce 11 per day instead of 7. So I definitely want that. The Peru-Bolivian Confederation declares war on Ecuador. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens in South America. I never really pay a lot of attention to South America in these games. It might be worth doing that sometime. A Kaiserreich Brazil campaign. Man, I've got so many things you could do in Kaiserreich. So dang many. Also Millennium Dawn. You know, that's another idea. If I ever do the Millennium Dawn campaign, which I probably should do. Brazil is not a bad idea, and try to unify all of South and Central America, maybe fight back against the American imperialists. Yeah, that would be fun, wouldn't it? Probably. I don't know. Anyway, we're up to 4 army experience. I'm frickin' trying to get up there, man. We're almost producing enough guns to start dealing with our deficit. Almost. Commune of France. How are people like the Commune of France doing? Let's take a look at this. They got a pretty good number of troops. They are actually almost on par with the Germans at this point. The British are not looking super duper powerful. The Russian Republic still hasn't crushed the Soviets, and I feel like they ought to have by now. Carlos Spain doesn't have a lot of troops. Looks to me like the syndicalists are in a pretty good position to win. The United States itself is probably dead. The Union State is not anywhere near as strong as the syndicates. Holy crap. Yeah, this is the thing. The syndicates, they look like they're not doing great as they just take over New England, but the syndicates usually end up being the most powerful by a long shot. What's going on over here? How'd this happen? I don't even know. Peace deal between Indo-Chinese Union with the German East Asia. Okay. Capital of Egypt. The question has been brought up. Should we have what capital should be in Egypt? The Pharaonists believe that it should be Alexandria. The Islamists believe in Cairo. All right, Alexandria it is. That is my new capital. A little bit further away from the front lines, but also vulnerable to a naval invasion. Also, anything I can do to appease the Pharaonists, I will do, because I want to be a Pharaonist. That's a hard word to say, by the way. Pharaonist. Pharaonist. Whatever, anyway. Indo-Chinese revolt succeeds. Cool. So we're going to end this video here. Again, not a ton has happened yet. We're just starting to build up our military, get some army experience. I will soon enough try to make these guys 20 combat with, start adding in some support companies, using my copious amounts of support equipment. All of that will be quite good. We're starting to get some more factories together. My economy's finally getting onto par, at least to start having a chance at fighting the Ottomans, but we need to be ramping up for war in preparation with the Cairo Pact to fight the Ottomans. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If so, then I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.